Hello everybody, how's it going? So welcome to another One Piece review. This time we're covering manga chapter 1122. Oda's made an interesting move with this chapter involving the Gorosei, which I was kind of curious how that was going to end up. But now Oda is literally going back to speedrunning the ending of Egghead Island and leading into Elbaf. And I also feel like the ending of this chapter may have something to do with what the editor previously said about the ending of Egghead Island. There's still another twist in the tale before the arc actually wraps up. The $1,000,000 question now becomes is, does Oda pull the trigger with a Joyboy flashback, or at least half of a flashback, or does he wait until Laughdale? Because I think that's going to be when he pulls the trigger, in my honest opinion. But we kind of have the ending of an era, considering the last chapter of My Hero Academia is literally upon us. So Oda decided to have the cover a quest dedicated to Horikoshi, the mangaka of My Hero Academia, and he also put out a message which I thought was pretty cool. This is a message. So this is a message to Horikoshi, and first off, it starts off lighthearted because Oda's like, "Oh, you can now play Pokemon Go forever now. So thank you for your hard work and a decade of serialization. And it's, regardless of whatever your feelings are about the series, it is a big moment. It's like I said, a kind of ending of an era because My Hero Academia is one of those series that was kind of like the new gen of what may have taken over One Piece. But what's crazy is One Piece is outlasting all of them pretty much. Jujutsu Kaisen is ending by the end of the year. My Hero Academia is literally on its final swan song. Normally we get the cover series of Yamato because it's a big moment for My Hero Academia, and Oda giving a shout out to Horikoshi. So Oda recreated a drawing of fan art of Smoker drawn by apparently Horikoshi 22 years prior to this. So I had no idea. So that was kind of cool. I mean, if it wasn't obvious enough about the shout out, I mean, you literally have Hero and Academia in the smoke. In the smoke produced by Smoker. So there you go. So that was pretty. It looks badass. I will say that. So, it kind of gives me flashbacks of what he did with the final chapter of Naruto when he had Luffy eating ramen. Kishimoto kind of returned a favor in chapter 700 when in his cover page when he drew the Straw Hat Jolly Roger on the Hokage statue. So I thought that was pretty cool back then. So it kind of gave me flashbacks to there. So Oda doing the same thing here. I don't know if Horikoshi's gonna return a favor here in that final chapter, but I wouldn't be shocked. The beginning of this chapter is literally the tail end of Vegapunk's broadcast, and to be honest, thank God, because honestly, this was getting repetitive. Like everything that we needed to know, we kind of learned in the first broadcast. In my honest opinion, like we kind of went back in circles over the Goldie Roger thing. Oda decides to have the pirates hype themselves up because of Vegapunk's message about the One Piece being real, similar to what we had with Whitebeard. So they're going to seek it out. You got the Marines, like they're freaking out because they know what's coming their way. Most importantly, you got Kobe here, and I get what Oda's trying to go for here by having Kobe say, Luffy, I'm going to have to crush your dreams of becoming king of the pirates. I will allow you. Big words, and I get it. Like, Kobe and Luffy are going to have an interaction, but the thing is, like, right now, he's nowhere near Luffy's level. Right now. For crying out loud, if the previous episode wasn't telling enough, like, if it wasn't for a pirate Perona showing up, Kobe would still have his ass locked up. If it wasn't for Garp, he would be dead, along with members of Sword. And if it wasn't for Teach, Boa Hancock would have killed his ass. There's some pretty big words from Kobe. So I'm like, okay, we'll see how that works out for you. So then we go to Cross Guild as Buggy is sort of hyping up the underlings, but at the same time he's like kind of like, why are you dummies calling it my world? It's our world, because he doesn't want the extra heat from Crocodile and Mihawk, who are sitting right behind him, unamused by this. But I gotta admit, it's kind of hilarious, and obviously, like I said before, if Cross Guild are gonna make a play for the One Piece, they have to show up in Elbaf. As I don't know if Teach will show up too, maybe. But speaking of Teach, we have Katarina Devon in communication with Teach, finally, and this is the first time we've seen Teach since the result of Law and Teach, which we know Law is still out there somewhere along with Beppo, so we don't know where Teach is right now. We have Katarina Devon, and in the background you have Van Ogre, along with Carabo, And remember, Karabo is a fanboy of Teach, who has a lot of information. Katarina Devon says, we could just kill him right now. And Teach is like, no, just bring him along. If it turns out his info is like complete trash, I'll kill him myself. So, but we know how that's going to turn out. We know this is going to get him information about the ancient weapons. If that wasn't important enough through Vegapunk's broadcast, like, now Teach is going to make a play for the ancient weapons. I said this in my last review. I think that this is going to lead Teach to that kidnap Shirahoshi. I don't know if Teach will make a play to actually go after the ancient weapon Bluton on Wano. We know that's connected to Wano, and in fact, Robin back on Wano asked Luffy, hey, do you want the ancient weapon Bluton? And Luffy's like, nah. But the thing to note is, both of those islands are under the protection of Luffy. Luffy said after he kicked Big Mom's ass, even though technically it was Law Kid, he was going to put Fishman Island under his protection. He also put Wano under his protection before he left. So if Teach kind of storms both, that would make perfect sense, and that would make things even more personal with Luffy. So I'm just throwing it out there. That's a possibility. That's how you could tie Pluton into this, because we have to find that out sooner rather than later. And I find it interesting that Vegapunk is about to say something about Joyboy, but that's why the broadcast comes to an end, and this time it looks like for the last time, because Top Man again rams Emeth. Finally, Oda wrapped that up so we can move on to the ending of this arc. So, speaking of which, we have Nash Joro in hot pursuit of the Sunny, and it kind of ties into what I said in the last review, where it looked like Zoro noticed something or noticed someone, and I said it's either him figuring out how to land safely or him noticing Nash Joro, and it turns out that's what it was, him noticing Nash Joro. Nash Joro is about to attack the Sunny, but Zoro is about to counter, but it doesn't really go anywhere, because in mid-flight, while Joy Boy is thinking about apologizing to Joy Boy, and remember, Luffy's the only one hearing all this, Emeth says to Luffy, I want to apologize to you too. I knew that there was no chance he would still be alive. And Luffy responds like, did you mistake me for someone else? So I feel like this is like where Luffy is for the first time taking this interaction kind of seriously. Like last time he was kind of like dumbfounded and like turned away thinking like he was talking to somebody else, but now he's actually taking this a little bit more seriously. So that's actually pretty cool. Where it's going to lead, I don't know. Emeth responds like, you look just like him, and this kind of ties it back to the silhouette of Gear 5th Joy Boy back in the day, because we saw him silhouetted looking like Luffy does now in Gear 5th, so that's not a shock. So the fact that he said that you look like him, obviously he's being in Gear 5th. Then he goes on to say, I hope Joy Boy forgives me. And while this is going on, by the way, Saturn is falling to pieces, but he doesn't land in the ocean like I thought he would. Instead, it looks like he lands back into the forest, which is burning right now. Here comes Jupiter, while Top Man is standing in front of Emeth. You got Jupiter about to try and eat Luffy whole. You got Nash Joro trying to attack the Sunny, and Emeth goes on with this conversation. He says, I failed to make him king. I'll go back to that by the end, because I have a question about that. They got the Gorosei coming at them right now, and Luffy kind of responds like king, and then Emeth responds back like, what is your name? And it's like he unleashes his trump card, but only after Luffy mentions, I'm Monkey D. Luffy, I'm the man who's going to become king of the pirates. And then Emeth's like, D, and then he grabs a rope, unties it, and then unleashes an insane amount of Conqueror's Haki that knocks out fodder and Marines. But the most impressive feats are, not only did he split the heavens, much like Luffy did in the anime, so that's the only other time that we've seen that. It was kind of vague in the manga, but there is a scene where Oda is focusing on the heavens, but we don't really get to much context. In the anime, it's a lot more clearer. So this is the second time we've seen this through another person using Advanced Conqueror's Haki, you would think. And given who was responsible, I'm going to think, obviously, it was Advanced Conqueror's Haki, so it split the heavens again. So that was actually pretty cool. Which also ties in with the silhouette, the figure that we see of Joy Boy by the end. I have to give props to Vice Admiral Doll, because even though Doll is in the form of a child, thanks to Barney, she's able to withstand this and remain conscious. So that's actually impressive, considering what this Conqueror's Haki wave does. Not only does it knock out Marine fire, it forces the Gorosei to revert into the base form from the zone forms, including Nashjoro. So we've seen Nashjoro use Conqueror's Haki already, possibly Advanced Conqueror's Haki, if you want to make that debate. It forces 3 of the Gorosei to reunite with Mars, who's chilling inside Pangaea Castle back in Marajose. So that's pretty crazy. Like, so Nashjoro, Jupiter, and Topman rejoin Mars back in Pangaea Castle. So that answers that question: where was Mars sent flying? But the most impressive part of this feat is Emu is feeling the effects, and it forces Emu to Emu's knees. Now, we don't really know the identity or the gender of Emu yet, so I'm gonna hold off on my judgment here. I have my own 2 cents about that, but I guess we'll find out that pretty soon in the anime, considering we'll know through the voice actor. Emu does say Joy Boy, so, and Emu is panting big time. So that kind of like answers the question of whose haki this is, so that makes a lot more sense. The giants, Dory and Broggy, they were confused by this, say, wait, a giant robot is able to unleash Conqueror's Haki, but no, that's not what's going on here. Especially when you consider the rope that he uses, that he unties. I'll get to that by the end as well, because that's a reference to a lot of people looking through that may lead to another person unlocking Conqueror's Haki. After this, the Sunny lands in direct contact with the ship from Elbath alongside Luffy. So, I mean, shocker, who would have seen that coming, right? We see Emeth and we see Saturn walking towards him, and he's in his base form, but he looks exhausted. He looks like he's at his limit too. And I guess it cancelled the ritual summoning, because we see the circle back inside Pangaea Castle, and we see 3 of the Gorosei return. Mars got sent flying to Marajose as well. So there's a lot of context we don't know about this technique or this ability. So Saturn looks like he's at his limit too. I don't know what Saturn can do at this point. Like, he may have he's still a factor here, and I don't see things ending well for Emeth, even though this leads into a flashback involving him and Joyboy. And this goes back to the times at hand, and it makes sense considering the last time we saw Emeth, he said, "Is it okay if I unleash it?" Like, he had a trump card up his sleeve, and that was the last time we saw it. By the way, kind of like Emeth has overalls. It's actually pretty cool as he's talking to Joyboy, and wouldn't you know it, the figure of Joyboy seems very familiar. So this is the most important part of the dialogue involving Joyboy and Emeth. So I'm going to gather my most powerful haki and seal it inside of you. And they says, you're going to be in danger, or it'll be a case of you wanting to save someone, untie the knot. So we know he did that in this chapter, and we know it unleashed Conqueror's Haki. So that makes sense. What we didn't know is you could do that. You could store Conqueror's Haki in an item. He does that, and like I said, the design of Joyboy matches the very similar design we see of Luffy. Not only Luffy, but the outfit he had on while in Onigashima, with the coat, obviously with the straw hat, and clearly you see him wearing shorts as well. But I don't know what's up with his leg, but one looks different than the other. I'm just throwing it out there. But so that's the fact that he looks like Luffy. I'm not shocked by that, or he resembles the design of Luffy, which I'm not shocked by. But this goes back to where I said when we first got the silhouette, where we saw him looking like Luffy in Gear 5th, which was not a shock considering they had the same devil fruit. So, and a lot of people seem to think he was a giant for some reason. Look, a lot of people seem to think that, but remember, Luffy can grow his limbs by using the Nika fruit. And not only that, but he could also increase his size to a giant while in Gear 5th. Who's to say? And we know what Kaido said, what he said on Onigashima after Luffy unleashed Gear 5th. He's having an effect on the things around him, and we now know he has an impact on people around him. Look at Bonnie. So who's to say that the giant straw hat that Emu has inside Pangaea Castle wasn't influenced by the awakening of the Nika fruit that we know Joyboy had? So just throwing it out there. That's the first piece of business. That's pretty much how the chapter ends. It may be a case of where Emeth doesn't last any more than a chapter. If he does, then, and like I said before, does Oda pull the trigger with a Joyboy flashback here, or does he wait until Laughter, which is my prediction? Because at this point, you don't really have to spoon feed it right now, because he's already done that with the Vegapunk broadcast. Like, he's given us certain hints still that there's going to be a incoming catastrophe caused by a weapon belonging to Emu that obviously is produced by the Mother Flame. So that's going to sink the One Piece world into the oceans. So the 2 points I want to go over here, obviously, with the first look of Joy Boy since the reveal of the Void Century War, where we got like I said, the silhouette of Joy Boy looking like he's in Gear 5th at the time. Not a shock. But what we did not know, however, is somebody this strong could like store his Conqueror's haki, and he literally says, "This is my strongest Conqueror's haki." Store it inside a rope, and then hand that to Emeth to release whenever the time is right. So that's what we got here. The thing about the rope that gets handed to him, and it doesn't really mean anything unless you go back to pre-time skip episode 418, when Nami crash lands on Weatheria after being sent there by Kuma, intentionally by the way. So after meeting Hades, Nami he shows Nami the wind knot. So a lot of people are going with that scene and like using that as foreshadowing for this scene in this chapter. I'll get back to what this may lead to because that's what a lot of people are hanging the basket on. And keep in mind also, later on, Nami will go on to use a wind knot on top of a clamor attack and dispel a cyclone. Like I said before, that was pre-time skip. So a lot of people are going with that scene and taking that as foreshadowing for what, and they think maybe this will lead to, this could be some type of foreshadowing for Nami unleashing some type of Conqueror's haki in the future. I said this a couple of reviews ago, I'm going to say it again, like considering that Professor Clover got revealed as a D, and that has to lead to somewhere. I said it's the final saga and nothing is off limits. You can't rule anything out because it's the final saga and anything is possible with Oda. So I'm not going to rule that out, but I will say Cooley Jets because we don't know. You can make the argument here, this is the most impressive haki feat that we've seen in this series thus far. Not ruling Shanks out, but we haven't seen him do anything close to this in canon. And my final point goes to this. So as Emeth is talking, and Luffy is the only one hearing this, before he unleashes the Conqueror's haki provided by Joy Boy, he does go on to say, I apologize, Joy Boy, I failed to make you king. Now my question is this, the answer may be simple, but is it really? So, the king of what? The king of pirates? Did Joy Boy also fail to become king of the pirates? King of pirates? The king of the world? I don't know. So, again, Oda could use this as a way to open up the Joy Boy flashback, give us a little bit more extra context, or he could revisit this back on Laughdale because this is clearly foreshadowing something even more major going down. We could also get a revelation on Joy Boy in Elbaf. That's also a prediction. There's still a question mark of how is this arc going to end? How is it going to wrap up? Is anybody else going to show up, or is this literally it? Or is there going to be another twist in the tail, like I think there is, involving Saturn? Because Emeth, listen, Emeth is done for. I have to shout out Doll for like withstanding the Conqueror's haki from Joy Boy, so that's a feat. I'm going to go crazy over the theory that Nami possibly could awaken Conqueror's haki at some point before the end of the series. So that's going to do it for you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Like the review if you did it, thumbs up. I appreciate that. I appreciate all you guys' support. Subscribe, chat for more One Piece, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Thanks, guys. Bye.